Welcome to the Book Corner with me, Mish Atagana, a podcast for book lovers and book lovers adjacent. So, if you want to hear discussions about books, world building, characters, plot twist, this is the podcast for you. It is a discussion based podcast that really delves into a story and what makes us love the story. So, I hope you enjoy the Book Corner with me, Mish Atagana. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Book Corner. I'm so excited that you've joined me for today's discussion. Today is a very, very special discussion because it is a song of wraiths and ruin. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I had a dramatic beginning with this book. I almost stopped reading it, but I got into it deep and deep. It is inspired by West African folklore, so naturally, of course, I have to read it. I'm Nigerian. It's important that I uphold the traditions of my people. But it's also something about kind of seeing, African stories and the mainstream. I think it's a Sunday Times bestseller, this book. So it's really nice to see these kind of characterizations that represent, um, a different group of people out in the world, in the mainstream world. Those of you that read Children of Blood and Bone kind of understand what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of similarities between the Children of Blood and Bone and this book. So it could also be why I just really enjoyed reading it so much. So our story is set in the backdrop of this desert kingdom of Ziran, which is located somewhere in West Africa. I feel that it's probably like modern day Ghana type, modern day Ghana, maybe a bit of Cote d'Ivoire that this is, based in. The author is Ghanaian or Ghanaian American. And we are here in this kingdom that is like full of intrigue. It's a bustling city. So many things are happening. It's where high society lives, but there's also like a lot of political things going on, right? And in the same world, we have like a little bit of like intrigue around magic where like the story magic has to play, or the role it plays in the story and the story it tells in people's lives. We have the kind of catalyst of our plot, which is the Nostalgia Festival. I hope I'm saying that right. Nostalgia. I think that's how you should pronounce it. This festival, which our story literally is at the backdrop. We begin on the eve of Nostalgia, the story. So it's super exciting. I got legit transfixed, the minute I kind of gave the book a chance. And it turned a corner for me when I kind of realized that our characters are doomed to fail. I know it's a bit morbid, but the plot is kind of designed that way where it's impossible for the characters to win, and it just lays the road down for a very fascinating story. So this is part of a duology, the first one being a song of wraiths and ruin, which we are discussing today, and the second one being a psalm of storm and silence, which I've also finished reading, and we will likely discuss that next week. Yeah, so let's get into it, right? So the story clearly inspired by just some really amazing West African folklore, and we we even kind of begin our story with a griot calling for people to gather to hear a story, right? And griots, for context, are these storytellers, based West African traditional storytellers that pass on knowledge through their stories, like fables and warnings and folklore, which is super exciting for me in terms of just kind of following the story. So a plot kind of kicks off with a tragic, you know, events begin on two sides of the pond. So we've got Karina, who's a princess of the land of Ziran, and she is painted as a very selfish character. She doesn't want to rule. She just wants to get out of Ziran. She doesn't want to be there. And she's not forced to be in Ziran. She learns of, the secret of their kingdom and what keeps their kingdom going. And her fate is now bound to upholding this secret and this kingdom. And there she is, ready to have to take responsibility that she was never interested in. But because of a tragedy that now occurs, it leaves her struggling to protect the kingdom while she tries to grieve. And on the other hand of the story, we have Malik. He is kind of one of our protagonists as well. He and his sisters are, trying to fight for a better life, only to be swept into some sort of benevolent spirit's dark bargain where, to save his sister, Malik must kill Princess Karina. And this literally sets him on a path towards her, which becomes so much more complicated because nostalgia is happening and he must find a way to get inside this palace, right? And things really begin to grow more intriguing, and a web. There's a whole web of many things that tie our characters almost in place, right? So I like I said, I got deep into this simply because I was like, there is no winning. These are our two main characters. The aim for us as readers is rooting for both of them, but we have to root for one. And because for one to live, for one to survive, the other must fall, right? And for Karina, she wants to revive her mother, the queen, who's just been killed. And she's not aware that Malik has to kill her in order to save his sister's life from this dark spirit. While on the other hand, while Malik is getting, ready to try and kill Princess Karina, he's also very unaware that this woman that he's trying to kill, who, by the way, he started to grow a little bit attracted to, also has her own deadly plan, which hinges on his life. So we like, okay, what's gonna happen? And I kind of look at the way that all of this is played and the magic that's enabling all of this, right? So Malik, who has spent his whole life seeing things, has been convinced that something is wrong with him. He is like been riddled with anxiety and panic attacks and just having to dig deep within himself to survive on a daily basis, realizes, spoiler alert, he has magic. And that magic is part of some of the things that have been, plaguing his life, and the things that people have thought were demon possession or crazy or whatever it is, the ways they've described him, is actually his magic, and he can conjure things. So he can kind of almost speak things into being. He's a storyteller, and he can storytell with his magic, and he's wrestling with what to do about what he must do: kill this woman and save his sister's life. And I found some of the like key drivers for this the plot of the story very fascinating. Like for me, the idea of grief, right? For Karina, grief is at the core of every bad decision she makes. This entire narrative literally hinges on Karina's grief stricken desires. She wants to reunite with her mother. She's torn by grief about what happened to her dad and her sister. She's torn by grief about the undercurrent of tensions that are in her life about what she must do as a leader, who she must be, as an Elsari. She she's torn by grief by the role of magic and the conflicts that magic plays in their lives in deciding their destiny thereof or lack thereof, right? And also Malik's bargain, it's on the other side of that coin, literally is driven by this deep love for his sister. Malik is desperate to win his pact with this vengeful spirit, who, plot twist in the end, is hella involved in all these characters' lives, has like key relations with these characters. And it literally, for him, is like there's a ticking clock to assassinate this person, and I must beat the clock in order to save my sister's life. And that truly amplifies the suspense of the story and the way the story is told. Um, then we have this nostalgia, which is like kind of a really interesting, festival where it's like a comet goes by every 50 years. By the end of this comet, every kind of so every deity or deity aligned member of the community come together. So they pick one representative from each deity. So there's the life aligned, there's the water aligned, there's the fire aligned, all these different kind of ways they align with different deities in this world. And whichever champion wins nostalgia, which is a series of challenges. I thought of nostalgia like the triwizard tournament. Those of you that read Harry Potter, imagine the triwizard tournament, but with like West Africans doing the most, right? And whoever wins the nostalgia, challenges, their deity is the one that will guide the people in the next era. So they are coming off the era of fire. And if water wins, water becomes the deity of choice. If fire wins again, another 50 years of fire. But so that's how they get to decide which deity will guide them into the next era of their land. So yeah, so nostalgia is crucial to the plot, but also if like nostalgia doesn't go to plan with an Alsari, you know, deciding the winner arising and Alsari being the family, the royal family, which now Karina is the only surviving member, bestowing the gift, the kingdom will become unprotected to the forces of magic, which now changes everything. So Karina is like, I must make sure nostalgia goes off as planned. So her mother's death on the eve of nostalgia, but nostalgia must go on as planned. She, as queen or incoming queen, must ensure that everything goes according to, the sacred laws of nostalgia. She needs to find a champion and find a way to resurrect her mother. Make sure that when that comet passes, it everything has been appeased to the gods which it must be appeased to in order to make sure the kingdom stays protected from external forces of magic. Like, how insane is that? By the way, this girl's like, what, 16, 17-year old? I'm like, come on. Is this not a lot for a child? And then on the other side, you've got, this high stakes competition where, Malik is trying his best to win as nostalgia or at least perform well as nostalgia. He's having panic attacks. He's got this princess who has decided that the winning prize is her hand for marriage, but she's also playing some weird ass mind games. Like, not only is he plotting the murder, he's now under scrutiny at the palace because everyone in the palace for nostalgia is being heavily watched, right? And so that also gets super crazy for him. He and his sister are trying to figure out ways to win. The people in the competition, they've been in there for the longest time. They've been training, their families are noble blood. He's an outsider and they're trying to figure it out, right? So I really, really like just that high stakes intensity. And I think for me that's what the turning point was, right? Was because when I first started reading it, I just thought Karina and Malik were such annoying babies. Like, can you please stop with the whining and the woe is me kind of life? But once our vengeful spirit got in the game and the mother dies and we kind of realize what's about to happen, the way the story is about to intersect, I was just like, hang on 2 seconds, what is happening? But I also really love like this mental health um, play here where anxiety and just, can children be allowed to be children, and this is something I want to discuss maybe in another podcast. But there is so much pressure that was put on Malik as a child. Malik had to deal with so much loss and having to understand what it means to do anything, that it just gave him a lot of stress. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so that stress for Malik, it's literally It's wild. So this boy is trying to save his sister, his little sister. His older sister is also under pressure because she's like, fam, when are you going to do the deed? Because our sister's life is at stake. And I also don't know if the author spent a lot of time just with the external characters, and the external character here, I suppose, being Layla, the older sister, confronting what it meant for Malik to have to take a life. So Malik again was also what, 16, 17, like what it meant to take someone's life. I didn't really feel that Layla spent enough time to understand the gravity of what Malik had to do. I definitely know she had sympathy for it for sure, but did she understand the gravity of that choice? I don't know, because for her it's how do we save our sister, which is fair, which is a fair thing for her to do. So this I think for me was a huge thing, you know. And there was a lot of like moments for Malik where he's getting to know this princess. She's not the brat that he's been made to think she is. There's elements where he sees her vulnerability, you know, kindness, and despite like her position, Karina finds herself in a position of great weakness due to just her loss and the political instability of the kingdom. Right? You've got like someone killed her mother. Her mother was killed by an assassin. So there's a traitor within their court. As Karina is trying to secure her throne and her position as the next queen, this traitor adds layers of political like confusion and stress for her to figure everything out. And this also endangers her because first there's the danger from Malik, who is like, I gotta kill this person for my sister to live. But who is this traitor within the court, and what does that traitor have to kind of lose if they don't also kill Karina? So I think a lot of that is super like intriguing for me as well. And if you also look at the way kind of the intertwined nature of the plot threads in the story, it really creates a gripping narrative. Like I said, I struggled with these characters, I think, in the first maybe 50 or so pages of the story. But as you kind of see the thread goes, it really creates a gripping narrative. Like, yeah, I was left asking questions like, okay, is Karina gonna bring like ruin to Zaran? Is she going to be the downfall of the kingdom as she thinks she is? And is Malik really gonna kill this woman who he's clearly like falling for? Like, what is he going to do? And who is actually the traitor? Who is the real traitor in this court? And how far will this traitor go if Malik doesn't kill Karina, who is clearly the last of the royal bloodline? And is that their end goal? Did they kill, the queen to wipe out the royal bloodline? If so, why did they only kill the queen and not Karina at the same time? Like, what does that actually mean? And is this attraction between these two people, is it going to change the outcomes of their clearly very intertwined destinies, right? So that for me was also like such a super like interesting thing. And from a character point of view, I really love like, for me, the griot telling the story, I was into this griot. She was out here like causing chaos. Like, she was legit the queen of chaos, an entity of chaos. And I just found the added plot dynamics and also the hints she gave like our characters as the story goes without them knowing who this person is. For me, that was super fascinating. I like from a character point of view that supporting cast as well was so. I see, I'm like, cast, they should make this into a movie. Please make this into a movie. The supporting characters here also create like a level of excitement for me, in terms of just how they contribute to the stress of our characters. So Layla, be it a voice of reason, but Layla is like, fam, I'm gonna need you to do the deed. Go kill a person so we can save our sister. And both of those things are both fueled by intense love for her family, but also a sense of duty as the oldest, right? And then there's all these other characters, like we have Farid, who is a major plot twist in the story, but I'm not going to give it away. I am not. But he is a major, major plot twist in the story. And then Aminata, who is Karina's friend and her handmaiden, who is literally added an extra layer of complexity. And there's loyalty and betrayal and ambition within the palace walls, and these supporting characters are the crux of that, I also enjoyed the clash between Karina and Malik's personalities, like the way, like the things they desire, their social circumstances. Mind you, Malik's family is their family is like kind of at the bottom of the food chain, or their tribe, their people at the bottom of the food chain. So they had to fake papers to get into Zaran. They couldn't really tell people what tribe they're from because they're spat on and treated very poorly, right? So there's a hella high sense of xenophobia and, tribal discrimination here as well that's tackled. So for me, also thinking about this clash in personality and social standing is super interesting, and it's so central, to the tension of the story. And the enemy to lovers trope, is always an exciting one, but there is a genuine risk involved with this one, right? Because again, one of them has to die. And who is it going to be? And it's not just their hearts on the line for whatever happens, it's their lives, but not just their lives, but the fate of so many other people. So if Karina doesn't kill Malik to gain the heart of a king in order to, restore her mother, their whole kingdom falls from Karina's point of view. If Malik doesn't kill Karina to honor the bargain of the vengeful spirit, he loses a sister, which sends his family into chaos and disarray. Like, what is a person to do in this scenario, right? So I really thought that was super interesting. I also really quite liked the world. The world was very visual. I just wish that we could have gotten to see the roles spirits play, but perhaps we'll see a little bit more of that in the next book, which I don't want to talk about now because I want to talk about it in the other in its own podcast. So I really really like how the connection to kind of our vengeful spirit is like laid out at the end, and we kind of have this oh wow moment, right? There's like two major oh wow moments for us. Actually, I think there's about three. There's three major oh wow moment. One tied to the vengeful spirit, which is then tied to the said comet, and another one tied to like a loyal friend, which we go whoa, and I really thought, oh my goodness, oh wow, and I enjoyed like getting to this point where I'm like, wait, they're really gonna kill this person? What? How? This is gonna happen? And that for me was super exciting. So I thoroughly loved this book, and I couldn't wait. Like I started reading it. I bought it on Kindle, and I started reading it, and I was like, oh, how am I going to get into this book? And like I said, as soon as I got into it, I was like, I have to buy the second book of this. I ordered the second book immediately on Kindle. I even ended up, when I was done reading both books, buying the paperbacks just to have it, because that's how excited I was and how into it I ended up being. So just love it from a plot point of view. I love this kind of inevitable end that it had, for A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. And I also really enjoyed the fact that our characters were not designed to be loved. They were designed to be heavily flawed, and they were also designed to be mirrors for our teenage selves, and I actually quite like that. And like I said, the world building is exciting, but I'm really hoping book two just develops a little bit more of that magical realism, that world of the spirits. And based on the events of the end of book one, it feels that's the catalyst to kind of really delve into the magic elements here. So thoroughly incredible. I do hope they turn it into a movie, though. I think it will make a really fun movie, and things like that. If they turn this into a movie, someone please invite me to set to talk to Roseanne Brown and some of the cast and see how they think about it. That's a wrap, readers. I hope you enjoyed that. Until next time, keep reading and keep discussing. You can find me on Instagram at GlobeMish. You can find me on TikTok as Mish Atagana without the E. Hopefully, we can talk more about these books. Until next time.